Hello and welcome back to Front Porch Sports, coming to you from our porch to yours. And a couple announcements before we get too deep into everything. You can follow us on Twitter at Front Porch ENT, or on Facebook at Front Porch Entertainment. And you can also follow us and listen to us on YouTube at Front Porch Entertainment. And I am your host, Steven. Along here with me, I have, as always, Jairus J-Man.
Hey guys and girls, how are we?
And also have our producer / co-host, Philip.
What's going on, everybody?
And today I figured we'd talk a little about the NCAA football, as well as NCAA men's coverage, and a little bit about the NBA. Starting off, we'll do some recaps on some of the bowl games. Starting off with number 22, Northwestern beats Utah in the Holiday Bowl, 31-20.
Yeah, I didn't find it to be a surprise.
No, not a big shocker. Like I say, Big Ten's definitely a tougher conference than Pac, right? Utah's Pac-12.
Utah's Pac-12.
So, better conference, better team probably, so no real, eye-opener or anything.
Yeah, I mean, Northwestern isn't the Big Ten. There's a better conference, but I think most of the better teams are on the other side of the division. From Northwestern, you had Nebraska that had a horrid football year this year, and a couple over there. Purdue's on that side. It just is not as strong of that side of the conference. But, they did win that part of the division. Utah, the Pac-12, has not been good this year. But we'll move on from that one. Texas A&M, 19th ranked, crushes North Carolina State 53-13 in the Gator Bowl.
I'm not surprised by this one either. This is a Texas A&M team that nearly beat Clemson as well. I think them getting Jimbo Fisher is going to make them pretty hard to handle in the SEC in the coming years.
Yeah, they could eventually, I won't necessarily say next year, but eventually them giving Alabama a run in the West, I could see it happening eventually. The outcome of this game, I definitely saw A&M winning, and that large of a win doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher's known to have good teams, but he requires a good quarterback. As long as they can recruit quarterbacks out there at Texas A&M, I think they'll be okay. But they do seem to struggle when they have below-par quarterback play in his systems.
Well, and, he came from Florida State, which is a program that has plenty of money. There's no doubt about it. But he's at a program now that they basically print their own money. So I can see him being pretty well successful.
Yeah, give him some time to get his guys in there. I mean, you can see what happened after he left Florida State. I mean, they're pretty much in disarray right now. They're not playing good.
Well, they were pretty rough as last year there too. I mean, they were they
only
had
when
8 wins.
Francois went down.
Yeah, that was.
But I understand he's very dependent on a quarterback. If he doesn't have a quarterback, that team does definitely struggle a lot.
Right.
All right, so moving on from that game, we'll talk a little bit about the Liberty Bowl. Oklahoma State ends somewhat of a disappointing season for them on a high note by outscoring Missouri to go ahead and win that game.
I was surprised a little bit. Drew Lock is a NFL caliber quarterback. He's gonna play on Sunday, but he still had a good game. But yeah, it's definitely been a disappointing season for Oklahoma State, I think.
Yeah, they were 8-7, I believe. I mean, it's just
7-6.
7-6.
What was the final?
38-31.
Yeah, so we called a pretty high scoring game. Yeah. That may have not even reached the over-under, though. I bet it was in the 70s.
I bet it was.
If I had to guess. Both teams put up our offensive powerhouses. Neither team has a very good defense, so not real surprised, but,
Yeah, excellent. Moving on to the Military Bowl, Cincinnati knocks off a struggling Virginia Tech team 35-31.
I don't know.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I figured Virginia Tech would get the win, but there again, some of these bowl games, you never know who's really absolutely involved and absolutely care that they're there. So I don't know if that had everything to do with it, but I would say I was surprised by the outcome.
No, I was a little bit too. I mean, Virginia Tech has struggled the last couple of years, going back now. Bud Foster defense hasn't looked like a Bud Foster defense. They haven't been playing special teams like their teams normally do. It's been a pretty weak run for Virginia Tech the last couple of years. Sun Bowl, Stanford beats Pitt 14-13 in a grinded out in the trenches struggle.
Yeah, it looked like it was a pretty run-heavy game, and Pittsburgh actually outrushed them by over 100 yards and still ended up losing. So, but yeah, I think looking at the stats here, it's looking like Stanford had 200 yards on offense and Pitt had 330. So,
I mean, they only had 14 points. So, I mean, a lot of it was a big. I think we both called this game, or all called this game kind of much the same way. It's going to be a low-scoring, run-heavy, old NFC East type game back in the 80s where they line them up and
smash mouth football.
Yeah, 5 yards in a cloud of dust all day.
5 yards, 2 yards.
2 yards in a cloud of dust, yeah.
No, I think both y'all nailed it. It's basically what we expected, and to me, that just meant a coin flip on who was actually going to get more points on the board. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it's about what we thought, and either team winning didn't shock me at all.
Let's talk a little bit about the Red Box Bowl, where Oregon does defeat Michigan State, but only puts up 7 points.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy for Oregon. Oregon team to only put up 7 points.
I mean, they've really struggled. Taggart was there. Their offense seemed to struggle a lot. Goes to Florida State. Does not the same thing.
It's definitely not Chip Kelly's offense.
Now you have Mario Cristobal up there in Oregon, still not mustering anything. I mean, the Oregon teams that used to score 40 points a game and be in the talk about national championships, I think may have be gone for a while. I mean, and their facilities are ungodly when you look, because they're getting all that Nike money.
Right. Oh, yeah, Phil Knight's taking care of them, no doubt about it. It's weird, I believe we mentioned that, Michigan State's defense isn't as strong as it's been the past few years, but it's still a good defense, and obviously holding them to 7 points. D showed up. The offense just didn't get the memo.
They didn't know there was a game coming.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Outback Bowl. Iowa defeats Mississippi State, 27-22.
I was very surprised. I thought Mississippi State was going to beat the blocks off of them.
I still say Mississippi State's a better team, and I did watch the game. Mississippi State played like they expected to. Fee definitely mentioned how SEC teams end up playing Iowa every year,
beating them,
and they get blown out. And I think Mississippi State thought just by showing up that's what was going to happen. Iowa got out to a good jump on them. Mississippi State finally woke up and made a heck of a charge. Had chances to win that game. It was just too little, too late. But there again, it's one of these bowl games that exactly, just big fart noise sometimes. I think there's too many bowl games. I really do, but there again, I wait around all year waiting for football season to roll around, so I can't complain about how many there is. But when you get these poor performances, it takes away from it for sure.
I think a lot of it has to do with just the extra practices. Why a lot of teams like it, unless you're in one of the big bowl games. But
I think it's the way they schedule them, because they play a lot of those 7 and 5 and 6 and whatever, 6 and 6. If they put some of the good teams in there, like a Texas, Georgia, or the Kentucky, Penn State, something like in between all that, you had to watch all these bad teams play and then wait till the final day. Now you finally get to watch. So it's I think that's part of the big problem. But yeah, there's too many bowl games. That's a fact.
There is, but like I say, it's better than no football.
Better than no football, right?
But it's like the Saturday before we did the podcast. We was like, well, what are we going to watch? We're going to watch freaking your Buffalo and Troy play,
Right.
or we're gonna watch Hawaii and Louisiana Tech.
Right.
So-
Yeah, but is bad football better than no football?
Absolutely.
There you go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Kentucky holds off a late rally from Penn State in the Citrus Bowl.
Exact same scenario I gave you a minute ago. When Penn State finally realized that they needed to play football, they made a heck of a charge. Gave themselves opportunities to win, but Mr. Snell was on his game, and not taking anything away from that guy because he's a really good running back. But like I say, Penn State woke up too late, and
Yeah, but he's pretty much their whole offense. If you shut him down, they did not. He went off for 144 yards.
and our dumb butts sitting right here in Rockwood, Tennessee, we realized that. So you would think Franklin and his staff would have figured that
Well,
out.
yeah, we saw it firsthand when Tennessee beat him.
Right,
Really, first we were there.
right.
So yeah. If you shut Snell down, Kentucky's not going to do anything. So apparently, either they tried and just couldn't do it, but it doesn't look
I
like it.
believe they put some effort into it, but he's a really good running back at the same time. So.
Right.
I don't see how Tennessee can do it and Penn State can. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. But seeing Franklin get beat brings
Yeah.
me pleasure because
that
he's a
makes sense.
prick. He's a really good coach, but he's a prick. So
All right, so number 11, LSU defeats the self-proclaimed defending national champion number 8 UCF 40-32 in the Fiesta Bowl.
Oh, thank goodness. Praise the Lord. Yeah, UCF's quarterback was out. They're going to complain about that. But I think LSU had 8 starters on
right.
defense out.
and
So
they lost 2
Yeah.
in the game.
the
So
game.
they basically
During the
beat him
game.
with their second-string defense. More or less.
And the one kid was suspended halftime
Yeah.
from 3 or 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. He had to sit out the first half, so they were down players everywhere. UCF doesn't have a leg to stand on as far as I'm concerned. But going into it, I wanted LSU to throttle them. I was like,
Yeah.
man, if they could beat them by 50, that'd be. But then I got to watching the game, and it was so entertaining. I'm pretty satisfied with the way it turned out. UCF made that final charge, had a chance on that onside kick after they got within 8. They had a chance, dang near recovered the onside kick, so it turned into such an exciting game, and LSU still won. So it made me happy all the way around.
Yeah, I think UCF is they're not as bad as I thought they were. I think they're a top 25 team barely. If LSU's first string defense, they got those 8 starters. It's not even that dude's gonna die. There's gonna be.
I think it's easier to get up for 1 or 2 games a year when you're playing that kind of schedule than it is to get up for
Well,
a conference schedule where you're playing rivals 3 or 4 times
and I'm not going to take anything away from what they were on a 25-game winning streak.
Right,
or
I mean,
24.
that's still tough.
So that's hard to do no matter who you're playing for 25 weeks in a row. But we've mentioned it before. Florida gave them an offer. Hey, come play it in Gainesville twice. We'll come to y'all once, and they shrugged it off and acted like they were too good for that, or like it was an insult or whatever. If they want to be taken seriously, take the deal. If you're that good, like you think you are, say you are, go to Gainesville and beat them twice. You get a big old paycheck, and you beat them twice, and you gain, notoriety or fame or however you want to put it.
Yeah, you gotta pay your dues, man.
So they're annoying to think about that way. But like Fee said, they are better than I thought. I've watched them here and there, but as far as watching a full game, I don't think I ever have. But, if they're wanting to run that mouth and run with the big boys, you're going to have to take that Florida deal or somebody else's deal that might come to them, But anyway, it was an awesome game, and awesome that LSU pulled it out.
Well, I think they're playing. If they're in the SEC, they're playing a 500 team at best. I think if they're in the ACC, they lose 3 or 4 games in the ACC ACC.
But if you ask them,
well,
they're not. They would
I
tell
know
you.
they will tell you they're not.
Right,
But
so-
I think if you look at an ACC schedule or an SEC schedule, which where they would kind of fit into
Right.
one of those 2 conferences, they're at best a mid-level.
Well, not even those two. Put them in the Pac-12. Put them in Big 12. You know, I still
Pac-12
think
is geographically kind of hard.
no.
but-
I'm just saying for
Right.
to the games they would have to play, put them in there. I still say they drop 2 or 3,
yeah.
Yeah.
even against those not so good teams. So, hop in with the big boys if you want to run your mouth that way, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's take a look here at number 9. Washington falls to number 6. Ohio State and Urban Myers. Final game, 28-23 in the Rose Bowl.
It's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. The Browning kid from Washington had a good game. The running back from Washington had a good game. But, it is Ohio State, and they got a lot of talent on that team. And I guess they were really pumped up, because Urban Meyer's leaving. I don't know. But
As much grief as we give Urban Meyer, which he's more than deserving of it most of the time, he is a really good coach. Don't like him, but he knows the game of football. Obviously, he can recruit because Ohio State has talent running out their ears year in, year out with him. It was a close game. I can't remember where I was going with this, boys. Holy crap. Come back to me. I'll get you in a second. Sorry.
No, I agree. Urban Meyer, horrible person, great football coach. But, yeah, it was closer than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think Washington was going to be able to put up a game against them.
it looks like they scored 20 in the fourth and come back and beat them.
Yeah.
I know. I was just going to say that it was Urban's first trip to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, it was that
That's
too.
what I was getting at, which very surprising because he's been around forever, and you'd have thought somehow, some way, he'd have ended up there at one point. But
Yes.
pretty weird.
He coached at Utah, and he coached at Florida. The SEC doesn't have a road to there.
Yeah, it's Pac-12 and
Big Ten.
Big Ten. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So I'm kind of surprised in that too.
But I mean, the way it rotates around,
Yeah.
the national championships are played there. I don't know. It's just weird that he'd never.
I agree
never
with you,
got there
It
before.
is kind of weird. Really, it was at
But as soon as
The Big
Dabo goes to Alabama and Urban goes to Clemson, he may end up there for a championship game again.
yeah,
in the
he's
future.
going to be all better here in about a
Yeah.
year or two.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about number 15 ranked Texas taking down number 5 Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, 28-21.
Good for Texas. That's all excited. It wasn't the Georgia team I saw all year. They kind of laid down. Like I'd watch a little bit of the game. Like, okay, here comes Georgia, and I'd change it, and I'd come back, and I was like, ew, what happened? I was like, here they come, and they do something a little good, and then they suck again. So I don't. But yeah, Texas came to play.
I can understand, Georgia's disappointed, felt like they got the shaft or whatever. So I understand they were kind of not as involved as they would have been if it would have been a game that actually meant something. But all that trash talking they did, they hit Twitter up and was blowing up the Twitterverse, talking smack about Notre Dame and Oklahoma or whatever, and then to come out there and lay an egg. That's garbage. If you're not involved and you're mad, I understand you not putting up your best performance. But after all that talk you did, you dang sure better show up.
Yeah, and they talked a lot of smack, and they're in the Sugar Bowl, not like they're in the
Right.
toilet bowl playing,
Right.
December
The
15th.
Camping World Bowl.
Yeah, I mean this is a big bowl, in
Absolutely.
in an area that's geographically pretty close to them. So a lot of the fans are going to be able to travel there. I mean, you're going to talk trash, and hey, you got to give Tom Herman credit. I mean, he has got this team playing at a level
Right.
that nobody at the beginning of the year would have thought they'd be playing at right now.
Yeah,
Nope.
Texas is going to be scary.
No, Tom Herman is up
And-
coming,
and-
probably one of the best coaches coming up.
Georgia's going to be fine too. Can y'all truthfully say you think Texas right now is better than Georgia? Do you
No.
think you got Georgia's best?
No,
I don't.
No,
But-
but if you give them a long time to get prepared,
Prep, yeah.
maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at this game.
Well,
Texas dominated this game in all three phases.
the
all
Georgia team that played Alabama in the SEC championship, that Georgia team crushes that Texas team.
yes,
But all that trash talking, then you show up and could care less to be there. That's pretty crappy on Georgia's part. So they got what was coming to them.
Don't complain about not getting into the playoff and then get your butt whooped.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
It's dumb.
Just back it up even further and blow Texas out and be like, I
yeah,
told
show
you. We
show-
told
show
y'all we
some,
should have been there.
Exactly.
But, Herman, he doesn't bother me at all. He seems like a pretty good guy, obviously a pretty good coach. And over the next few years, Texas is they will no longer be a joke. They're going to be
He's scary again.
Yeah.
Which is good. I like it when these
I do too.
when these teams
I enjoy it.
these high quality teams come back and play well. All right, so speaking of that, only one game left. Number 1 Bama versus number 2 Clemson.
As expected.
Pretty much everybody thought that was the way it's going to
Right.
start out.
And I think they are the 2 best teams, proving it all year. Alabama's just too good, and Clemson's really, really good. Really good coaching staff, really good defensive line. Sunshine's awesome. He's got receivers all over the place. But right now as we're doing this, Saban's somewhere buried in a film session or something. So I just think Alabama's too good and Saban's too good, especially with time to prep like this.
Yeah, that is true. But I also think that what's Saban's one kryptonite is a good quarterback. You got Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson, and I think Trevor Lawrence can be that way. And he's going to have to play the best game he's ever played, and Tua's probably going to have to lay an egg. But I kind of like Clemson in this one. I know I'm crazy.
Even if Tua lays an egg, Hurts has proven he's no pushover at all.
But it depends how long Saban leave in there before he pulls the plug. But I'm going to go crazy and say Clemson. I like Clemson.
It's you probably got the 2 best.
I'm pulling for Clemson.
You probably got the 2 best offensive and defensive lines in the NCAA. I mean, you have arguably 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the NCAA. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about this game sitting here next year about the same time talking about these 2 teams playing against each other. I called Clemson earlier this year winning it. I still think they can have enough to do it. I think Bama struggles in these type of games with a quarterback that can run, but it's a pass first that can run quarterback.
Well, trust me, I'm rooting for Clemson. I don't want Alabama to. I hope to goodness I'm wrong. I just think that Alabama's too good, Saban's too good, and Clemson's really good too. I'm not putting them down at all.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Bama won it all either. No. So, I mean, it's one of those deals where you're like,
here's the thing I think's the it factor. That Lauren kid's a freshman. He got those 4 extra weeks to practice. During the season, I'd imagine you don't get to work on a lot of fundamentals or whatever you're doing bad or whatever a little bit, but you got to work on the game plan,
the spit and polish stuff.
So I think that was a big part of them beating the balls off the damn
Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame's not good.
Yeah, they're not good, but I mean, still a pretty good team.
It wasn't close. I mean, it wasn't. It was like, did you ever think that Notre Dame was in that game?
and 4 weeks for a freshman quarterback is invaluable, I think. So yeah, I think giving him more time to prepare now, I think that's going to be the it factor in beating Bama.
I hope y'all are right.
I think regardless, it's going to be a good game regardless.
I hope it's a good game.
So,
because I kind of hope Clemson just beats the crap out of them,
but now I do not think that will happen.
No, it's not.
I don't think it'll be a blowout.
I think if anybody blows anybody, it'll probably be Alabama blowing out Clemson. But I don't think Clemson.
The longer that Clemson can stay around, is the better chances they have. All right, so staying in the NCAA, there has been a couple of there's been 10 Power 5 coaching changes already this year. Start out with Georgia Tech. Paul Johnson's wing option is gone in favor of Geoff Collins. He's a ex-head coach at Temple and also served as the defensive coordinator for Florida and Mississippi State back in 15 and 16 and 13 and 14, respectively.
What's his offensive mindset?
Well, he's always been on the defensive side of the ball, so it'll be kind of interesting.
You don't know what
to see.
style he.
At Temple, he ran pretty much a spread
like a pro.
a spread pro.
It's going to be interesting at Georgia Tech.
It'll be different.
I think it'll definitely take a couple of years. He's going to have to get a quarterback in there. He's going to have to get some receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have some athletes there, and that's kind of guys you got to recruit at Georgia Tech because a lot of the polished players go to Georgia in that state. But you kind of recruit an athlete and kind of teach them. So I have to see how how you can develop players. I think it's going to be very dependent on Georgia Tech's success.
Will be interesting.
Houston, Major Applewhite gets the axe in favor of Dana Holgerson. Surprising he left West Virginia for that job?
Yeah. And I don't know how much more success he thinks he's going to achieve at Houston, but who knows? It's one of those head scratchers, and I'm not knowledgeable enough on it to give any real feedback.
Well, I think West Virginia has more of a history of having some good, decent teams together. And I wouldn't say good teams, but some decent teams. But Houston is kind of new to this whole winning thing. So
and Houston joined, right? They're part of
the
but
the Big 10 or Big 12.
Big 12, right? Before they had joined the Big 12, I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. You're going down there to get some lesser opponents, but there's still some good teams in the Big 12. I don't know, maybe.
When did they start? They started out 8-1 or 8-2, and then they fell off, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was right
Syracuse got them, and West Virginia went on a slide.
It was right around the time that that defensive tackle from Houston got hurt. So I think Applewhite probably deserves another year, but I don't know anything about this new guy either. So,
what, Dana Holgerson? He's a West Virginia coach.
Yeah, I don't follow West Virginia.
But yeah, I mean, they play out some pretty good teams.
I know they beat us.
I know they have. There's more talent you can get down in Texas than West Virginia.
Well, yeah, maybe they just offer. I know they can offer more money. I bet
that too. So it could be a numerous things that went through. We kind of beat this up already a little bit. Kansas, Les Miles going to Kansas. I mean, again, it's probably if they're looking just to get if they can get into a bowl game, they're probably going to be happy there.
Yeah, I just don't see a lot of people wanting to go to Kansas and play.
And some Miles will be a draw. They'll get some better talent just on his name alone. He gets to go there, and expectations are next to none. So any positive, any upsets or any momentum they gain, he'll get all the praise for it. And then if they lose some games, it's not like LSU. People aren't going to be burning crosses in his yard or anything, So I can see the move, but I want Miles back in, the real picture, back in the big talk, because I think he's a good coach and hilarious. His interviews and things are hilarious. So I wish he'd have went somewhere bigger, because I really don't think he has a lot of years left to coach, and this may be where he retires from. So I don't really like it, but I kind of understand what he's doing all in the same point.
Well, if he can get that team to a bowl game every year, I think they'll be more than happy with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna have to coach his butt off to get there, I think, at the same time. But is the pressure less than expecting a national championship, or at least competing for it every year? So I mean,
yeah. They had Mark Mangino down there, and he won in Kansas. So
it can be done.
I think Miles is a better coach than him, so it's possible. But you talk about Kansas versus Texas. I'm gonna call it 3 years. Kansas versus Texas national championship.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oklahoma's still going to be a powerhouse at that point. So.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Kansas State's Bill Snyder retires again. Chris Kleeman is brought in from North Dakota State.
Don't know. I have no clue.
North Dakota State is
they've been a powerhouse
on a tear
in their Division II.
D2, yeah.
Yeah, their D2 school. He's been a powerhouse there. They win every year.
Have you ever seen when game day goes to North Dakota State
No, I haven't seen
The,
it.
oh man,
Is it
it's
fun?
literally the entire town. Like
Yeah.
they put the stage like in the middle of Main Street, whatever
That's
town
kinda
it
cool.
is, and it literally like people are hanging out the windows of buildings and stuff. So I mean they've got a huge following and have been hugely successful. It's D2, so what does that really mean?
Right.
So the guy knows success. He knows football, but
Yeah, we'll see what he can
He's
do
gonna-
against the higher step up in talent and see.
He's gonna steal all that Kansas talent, football talent
Yeah.
there from Les Miles. That's gonna be the
Hey,
downfall.
but,
it could be. Hey, it could make the matchup interesting. At
but
least.
what's Snyder 117 years old?
Yeah.
So,
But again, if he can get to a bowl game, I think they're perfectly happy with that every year.
and he's in a league where we've talked about Texas is definitely on the way back. Oklahoma's really good. Oklahoma State's in and out, but they're a formidable opponent.
Yeah, TCU can be good at times.
Right.
SMU.
So, but there's success to be had there outside of those top 4 teams. But he's got a job ahead of himself.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be easy, but I think he can get there. Louisville drops Petrino for Scott Scatterfield from Appalachian State.
There again, same thing. Appy State's they've been playing with the big boys and showing up.
Satterfield's been in a lot of talks for a lot of big jobs, so I'm not surprised. he
Well,
finally got in.
Tennessee it was.
Yeah.
He had been mentioned. I don't know if we actually brought him in or not, but he had been connected to the UT search year before last. Appy State plays with the big boys.
Yeah.
They do what UCF should be doing.
Right.
Because they do put their money where their mouth is, and they do show up and give big name teams ball games. The guy knows football. I think that could be
It could be good.
a true success.
It could be a
story.
good hire. I mean, he's in that area still. He knows all the recruiting there from the coaches.
Yep.
He has relationships in that area.
How old is he? Do you know?
I don't think he's that old.
I
think
don't-
I think he's in his late 40s.
Yeah, I think of him as a fairly young guy, but I wasn't sure.
But yeah, I think it's a good fit. A Louisville team that can win. I mean, it's been proven they
Yeah.
can win there.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes. Miami steals back Manny Diaz from from Tipple.
Shady. What a shady little move. Nah, it makes sense. Why would you stick with a Temple job when Miami comes calling,
Right. I mean, Manny Diaz's defense has been great this year at Miami. The offense have really struggled this year, so I think the offensive hire is going to be a big important. I mean, he's already fired his whole offensive staff there at Miami, so we'll see. I mean, he did bring on a defensive coordinator already, the kid from Louisiana Tech defensive coordinator that he coached with prior. Kind of the same style of. He kind of mentored him up to begin with, so it's going to be the same style of defense. I think a lot of it's going to depend on the offensive selections he makes, but I think it could be a decent hire.
Just on topic of Miami, so confusing why Rick wasn't successful. How did they play this bad? He comes from the SEC where he's winning 10, 11 ball games a year, very successful. Goes back to home, right? That's where he's from. I don't understand how he failed there. I don't blame Miami for firing him or them agreeing for him to retire. I'm just so confused why he wasn't more successful because the ACC there again, of course, Clemson's a powerhouse, but everybody else is up for able to be beat, I guess.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to
Florida
say.
State's down, Louisville's down, Virginia Tech's down.
Right.
gobs of recruits down there in
And
Florida.
I don't know how it didn't work.
Well, he came in. I'm a Miami fan, so I have a little bit more background in this. He came in, did really well his first year, won 9 games. Second year,
That's with the other guys' kids.
right? His second year, he won 10 games, but he's had the same quarterback the whole time too. He won 10 games, but they dropped the final 4 games of the year. This year they lost 4 straight, and they came back and won 3, and then lost the last 2 again. So a lot of it's been inconsistent quarterback play, and a lot of it's been with the same quarterback. It's just the quarterbacks seem to regress, and it's usually not a Mark Richt type of thing. Usually their quarterbacks improve. He went to, I know at Georgia he had more of a straight drop back pocket type presence. He tried to move into a more dual threat quarterback here at Miami, and it just hasn't worked well for him. The quarterback play has been way too inconsistent to keep that team going. But the defense is always, the last couple of years, has led the league, and not led the league, but it been up there in tackles for loss. They're very aggressive. Turnover's been huge. Their plus minus turnover ratio has always been in the top 5 the last couple of years. That the Manny defense is very much attack oriented. He wants the same thing on offense. He wants to attack, kind of like the old Miami teams in the 80s and 90s. So we'll see how it goes. But I like the hire, even though he's not a huge name. But I think it fits. And Manny Diaz is from Miami too. I mean, his dad was the mayor at Miami at one point. So.
You know what I really think it is, Fee? Rick runs that clean program. He's a squeaky clean guy, and he went down to old dirty Miami, and he wouldn't bend and break rules for him. So, nah, I'm just playing.
All right, so let's move on. North Carolina fires Larry Fedora and brings in Mac Brown from old Texas days.
He ain't coached in a long time.
Yeah.
He's a heck of a recruiter. I know that from his days in Texas. And,
well, to be fair, I mean, he got whoever he wanted from Texas, and it was because of it was Texas. It wasn't because I don't think he was a great recruiter.
Yeah, but I mean, they gotta go somewhere, and they chose to go there. I mean, they could easily went to Texas A&M.
But Texas A&M wasn't that great back when he was in his heyday.
Because they were all going to Texas.
Exactly.
I love Mac Brown. Cool guy. There again, runs a clean program. Had some awesome success at Texas, whether it was his recruits or whether they fell in his lap. However that happened. But I truly believe the game's passed him by. I don't see this being successful for him. I hope I'm wrong because I do like him. But, man, he's old. He's been out of the game for since right after Young left, right? It was right after Vince.
It's been
it was,
about 4 years, I guess, now.
Oh, has it only been? I thought it was.
Well, no, it's been more than that because you had Charlie Strong was there.
Right.
He was starting to fade after.
So it might have been 5
before
or 6 years.
he was on the hot seat before he left.
However it goes,
Yeah.
I'm just afraid the game's passed him by. Hope I'm wrong because I like him, but I don't see it being very successful at all.
No, I think he makes them a little bit better just because he's going to get him some big name recruits just off his name. But nah, they're not going to be a 10-win team. They may be the 8-win team now. But
No, you're competing with Clemson in that area for talent.
And South Carolina.
In South Carolina. So it's going to be a tough road. NC State has put together better football programs. And so, I mean, you're probably number 4 behind those 3 teams in that area. So.
Right.
All
But
right.
I do wish him luck.
Oh, no, absolutely. And Larry Fedora has been linked to the OC job at Miami, too, just in case you guys are wondering.
it's always with the Miami, Steve.
I don't know what happened with that. This is out there. Ohio State and Urban Meyer's heart leaving Ohio State. They did promote Ron Day to be their head coach.
Saw it coming. I believe that had been in the works for a long time, I think.
No, I'm not surprised. I think it kind of keeps some continuity of that team. We'll kind of see what kind of team they can be without the old Urban Liar there coaching that team at Ohio State.
Has he ever head coached before?
I don't know.
No, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
You'll be interested in.
I think he's just been groomed and like I say, I think it's been in the works for a long time. I think it was just maybe not written down, but it was understood. That's what was going to happen.
Yeah, and those grooming projects don't always work out as expected. I mean, you can
Not
probably
always.
count in your hands the times that actually does work out.
But there again, I mean, he's taken over a program that not hurting for money. Recruits will come to you a lot of times. So
Well, he definitely looked into a first good head coaching gig.
Yeah.
He's got all the.
They may fall off the map completely, but I could see him keeping pace with what they've been doing.
I don't think they fall off, but I think they may slip a little bit. I mean, you still have Michigan.
There'll
Michigan
be some
State
growing
there.
pains.
So yeah, I think they may be able to get them every now and again where they're a 2-loss team or so, or 3-loss team. I don't see them slipping past that. There's just too much talent that you can get at Ohio State. Pretty much, if you're in Ohio, they want to play. You want to play for Ohio State. It's just bred in you. It's kind of like the same happened with Texas back when in the 80s. I mean, if you were from Texas, you went to Texas if you wanted to. So, but moving on from that, Texas Tech fired Cliff Clinsbury and brings in Matt Wells from Utah State.
Texas Tech's offense has not been a problem, but wins have been a problem. So, not a surprising move. Don't know who this Wells guy is to even.
I mean, he's an older coach. He's been at Utah State for a while.
They won 10 games last year.
I mean, Utah State's a good program, but he's coming from a different area. I mean, he's never really recruited the Texas area,
Right.
and in Texas,
There's a
being
pecking
from that
order.
area, there is a pecking order, and you have to build a relationship with coaches before they'll send their kids to you or push your kids that
Right.
way. It's kind of a Texas thing. It's old country boy handshake type of deals
Right.
going on in Texas.
Yeah, he better get his checkbook out.
So yeah, it could be a tough road for.
Give me this
Texas
kid, I'll
Tech.
get you a job on my staff.
I mean, I understand the move of firing Kingsbury because he's been like 500 since he's taken over, but I'm not sure how this guy's going to do. I mean, he could surprise us all and dominate, but we'll see. And after last one, West Virginia, after Dana leaves, they bring in Neil Brown from Troy.
I have nothing.
I mean, Troy was an up and coming team. They played better the last couple years than they have in a while. It's kind of due. I figured a mid-major probably would take a stab at him before West Virginia would, which is kind of has a little bit of a name. Someone like a North Carolina or a Kansas State or something, but
I think the man's walking into a bad situation because West Virginia here and there they'll have some little scat back water bug looking kid who's really fast that'll kind of open some eyes, but
like Noel Devine and stuff back
right,
in the day. Yeah.
but and Pat Wyatt, right?
Pat White was quarterback there. Yeah.
Right. So but I mean, if West Virginia couldn't pull any big moves this year or make any real noise this year, I don't see them. It'll be another 10 years and they might have another little run. So I think the guy's walking into failure. I think about anybody would be walking into failure because.
Yeah, they're losing their quarterback, which is which is great. He's been really good this year. You saw their quarterback in the bowl game was a transfer from Miami, which has been struggling quarterbacks, and that guy has just been showed why he's transferred and
Right.
why he's not playing at Miami. It could be a tough road until they find a quarterback.
I absolutely feel they will fall off and be a joke for the next couple of years, and this coach is going to take the heat for that.
I don't know who they got backing up Greer, but he's not going to be as good.
Well, it's a transfer from Miami, Allison, and then he played pretty poorly. Played horrible at Miami.
Well, I can imagine because your quarterback plays already horrible.
Yeah, exactly. So
now
there-
to get the
that should
backup
tell you-
horrible.
That should tell you something. There, right there. Enough said, right? All right. So moving on from NCAA football, let's switch gears a little bit. Talk a little bit about NCAA men's basketball. There's no real changes in the top 10 last week since most teams were playing pretty much warm-up games for the conference play. I'll just kind of run through them real quick. We can kind of comment on the overall list if you want, and then we can kind of move from there. So starting out, number 1 is Duke. Michigan's number 2. Tennessee's number 3. University of Virginia's number 4. Kansas at 5. Nevada 6. Gonzaga at 7. Michigan State at 8. FSU and Virginia Tech round out the top 10. And that's pretty much it. Any surprises, concerns about that? I think it's pretty much expected. Everybody won. Nobody really played anybody big. So
Yeah, there wasn't any huge upsets. There wasn't any real huge games. Michigan State played Northwestern the other night and handled them pretty comfortably. Let's see, wasn't there a Seton Hall? Did they pull off another semi upset, or maybe they just racked somebody that night?
It wasn't any top 25 upsets at all last week.
All right, so
I think there was like a one. I think like Ohio lost. It was like 25th to somebody, but it wasn't nothing major. None of the top 20 teams lost at all.
okay.
There's no top 20 teams playing together at all last week.
No
so
matchups.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was kind of a slow week.
Well, St. John's beat Marquette.
Yeah, but that was like an 18 and a non-ranked guy. So, but I mean, it wasn't anything. I don't think there's anything major out there that happened.
Well, it's about to pick up now.
Oh yeah, but speaking of that, since we're about halfway through the season, conference play is going to start here soon. I figure it'd be fun to kind of go through each of the conferences and kind of say where they stand at our halfway point. I know we did at the beginning of the year where we thought people were going to be at this year, so I think it'd be kind of fun to kind of revisit that just a little bit and kind of see where they go. I'm going to start out with what I think is the weakest conference, the Pac-12.
Yeah, I agree.
You are correct, sir.
I mean,
Arizona State.
I think Arizona State is probably the favorite.
Yeah, UCLA just fired their coach.
Yeah,
so they're
UCLA is not what they usually are. Sometimes SoCal will show up here and there. I don't think they're much to.
Bobo's out at Oregon.
Yeah. So.
I mean, would you be shocked if more than two teams from the Pac-12 make the tournament?
Maybe three. Maybe.
I mean, I would be pushing it.
Yeah.
The
the only given is the Sun Devils. Other than that, but yeah, two, maybe three teams, probably what I would expect.
Yeah, it's been quite a. I mean, as illustrious as some of those Pac-12 teams have been, it's kind of sad to see them fall off the map like this.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what's going on with those California kids. They're playing football or what, but it seems like they would be playing better out there. So let's talk a little bit about the Big 12. I guess is the second. I would consider the second worst conference in my opinion.
Second worst conference, but has one of the best teams in the country in it.
They do. Kansas is always hands down favorite. I think every year. In that
Texas Tech is playing pretty good ball this year, so.
I like Texas Tech as well.
Are they going to make any real noise? Probably not. But there again, they're going to hold their own. They'll be okay.
Yeah, I got a couple of dark horses: Iowa, Texas, and TCU. I think has shots to maybe surprise a couple of teams this year. Texas
has been really up and down, but I think overall, as a whole, I do think they're a pretty good team. But
if Texas can get hot at the right time in the tournament play,
right.
They might be able to make some noise.
That's right.
But I think. With Kansas, I think a lot of times they struggle in the tournament because they played well at the beginning of the year, and then they get in the tournament play. And, of course, they win because they're not playing a lot of talent. But they don't really get challenged in the conference. And when they get in the tournament, it really exposes some of their flaws. And they don't have some of those, when you play tougher games, it kind of hardens you a little bit. It makes you try something different or kind of go outside the box. And I don't think they get challenged enough in the conference play. I think it kind of hurts them a little bit.
No, I see 4, maybe 5 teams making the tournament. Kansas being on top and Texas Tech being right behind them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got. Kansas good.
No, they are good. So let's talk a little bit about the SEC. I know you guys don't care much about that teams, but
Tennessee leads the conference.
I think they're the favorite right now.
They're, to me, the best. Whether I'm a fan of them or not, they are the best team in that conference. Auburn going to be just fine. Kentucky, surprisingly, they're still going to be there. They're still going to make the tournament. Still don't want to play them in the SEC conference tournament. But, Georgia,
Ole Miss is coming on.
Right, Georgia I thought was going to be better. I thought Crean would have, automatically made them better. Who knows? By the end of the season, they may step up and do something. You're right. Ole Miss is making some moves. Mississippi State is not an easy out, and then Alabama, year in and year out, may not be top 25, but they play really good ball. So the SEC's decent. 6, 7 teams, maybe not, but 5, 6 teams out of the SEC in the tournament wouldn't surprise me in the least.
No, I can go with that, 5 or 6.
Yeah, it depends. What Alabama can beat some of them ranked teams. You know, they're
Yeah,
very well
I
coached.
think Alabama's going to be one of those bubble teams.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're very
And
well
they
coached.
usually are.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about the Big Ten Conference.
I gotta look.
They got two definites.
Yeah. Michigan State. It's going to be
You know,
1 and 2.
we're watching Michigan State play an Ohio State team right now, and I told y'all, you know, Ohio State gives us fits. You know, like I told y'all off air a few minutes ago, last year, Michigan State's number 1 in the country, and Ohio State puts like a 15, 16-point beat down on them. They're playing as tight as anything right now. So Ohio State will be there to make some noise. Northwestern, you know, they had some positives at the beginning of the season, but here lately they're not doing much. Who am I missing?
Wisconsin,
yeah.
Nebraska, Iowa.
So Indiana had made some noise earlier this season. They've kind of hit a lull, but who knows as conference play goes? You know, if they Purdue. So Big Ten is no joke at all. There again, sort of like the SEC, I could see 5, 6 teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Michigan right now is a favorite. Michigan State can, I think, compete with that team. I think Ohio State is probably the one out of the next level of teams that scares them the most. And then I would go Wisconsin, Indiana, Nebraska, and Iowa after that. And, you know, I think those teams are probably going to be tournament teams.
Yeah, we'll find out at the end of the year. I don't think Michigan and Michigan State played till the last couple of weeks of the season. So that's going to be big games. Big games.
Well, they're going to have the
for
tournament
seeding.
too. So I mean, I would be shocked unless there's injuries, which could always change everything in a moment's notice. You know, especially in basketball where you lose
What
one
about
guy. It means
Maryland?
a lot.
What's Maryland doing?
They haven't been playing that well this year.
They're 11-3. It's not bad.
Yeah, but I don't think they really
I don't know
played
who
much
they've
either.
lost to.
Yeah, and there's another historical program, you know, that shows up. So there's no real easy outs. You know, the
No.
bottom tier of the league.
I would
of
think
course,
I
you
think
can.
the Big Ten is probably the number 2
Yeah,
basketball
they're
conference.
they're
right now.
pretty tough.
And speaking of that, big conferences. How do we feel about ACC this year?
They're loaded. They're
Yeah.
stacked. Good for me as a non-ACC fan, which means they are going to beat up on each other. There's going to be some teams start taking some losses to teams that may not be as good as them, but in this conference play, it's a true gauntlet, you know. So there's going to be some L's getting marked down in the books for some of these teams pretty quick.
I mean, right now, everybody's looking at Duke to probably to be the favorite in the conference as well as probably the whole in the nation right now. But when you look at it, you're going to have Virginia in a single elimination type game can give that type of team fits. FSU, Virginia Tech's no easy out. And nobody's talking about North Carolina, and I think they're always a dangerous team, especially at tournament time,
They're gonna be
especially in the
fun.
ACC tournament. It's going to be, you know, they're always tough. And same with Syracuse. When you get late in the year, the later the year goes, Syracuse plays better and better and better. And they may not play well in the regular season, but by the time they get to tournament time, they're always super dangerous. They always make noise in the tournament, in the ACC tournament, and in the national tournament. So I think any of those teams could probably a lot of teams.
Virginia's got a big game today. They got to play Florida State. So that you know, if they win that handily, they probably jump Tennessee, I'd say, in that one spot. They're undefeated. You know, it wouldn't surprise me them moving up to number 3.
Well, Virginia's a good team. They can beat anybody at any given night. I mean, that
Florida
defense will
State's a
shut you
good
down.
team too, though.
They are too. It's,
And we've not mentioned the Wolfpack. We've not mentioned the Demon Deacons. You know,
Boston College.
they're
It's a
there's
stacked conference.
They're
It's
so-
ridiculous.
there's you know,
9-10 teams out of that conference would not surprise me.
right. It but we do get to watch them beat up on each other. So
No, they do. They will, but still, I mean, when it's all said and done.
oh no, I mean,
mean-
and all that does is build your RPI. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
playing those kind of teams, even taking losses here or there that probably shouldn't have. It's not like you got routed by some no name. You know, so.
Right. It's not like you're playing a 5-loss, ACC team compared to like a 0-loss Nevada team is a
Right.
totally different ball game when you look at it. But yeah, I think the ACC. I would not be shocked if they send 10 teams to the tournament.
It wouldn't be totally surprising, no. And
Yeah.
and with the Big 12 or Pac-12, I mean, I'm sorry, like we said, maybe struggling to get 2 teams in, that opens up some spots, you know.
No, exactly. And I think a lot depends on like always, the mid majors, how many upsets happen in their tournaments, where they get automatic bids, where you may, if Villanova doesn't win the Big East, they still get a seed, type of deal. Does that kind of thing plays out? We might see how that may depend on where everybody finds up in the tournament.
Right.
Since there were no big games, like we said last week, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming games. As there are some pretty decent games coming up. So today you have Michigan State playing at Ohio State, like we said right now. I haven't really paid attention as much as they have what the score is, but
Oh yeah, remind me the next commercial to fast forward this TV because it's a little bit behind.
They're tied right now, I believe, at 66 or 69-69. I'm sorry.
so yeah.
It's a good game. Ohio State, they are at home. Langford's out today. I'm not making excuses, but he is a huge piece of the Spartan puzzle. So
Part of the big three.
Yep. But anyway, yeah, this is a big game. Early in conference play, Tennessee gets Georgia at home today, which I believe Tennessee will handle it no problem. What'd you say? Florida State, Virginia, huge matchup.
Boston
Kansas,
College VT.
but VT's beating their brakes off right now. It's
Yeah.
20-point.
Georgia, Tennessee, Kansas at Iowa State.
Iowa State, okay.
That should be a pretty good game.
Yep.
Being there on the road. Clemson at Duke.
Right. Clemson's not a real big threat, so I'd imagine Duke handling business
Especially at home.
fairly easily at Cameron Indoor. So.
Nevada's going to New Mexico, which
Right.
New Mexico's been a pretty pathetic team, and Santa Clara goes to Gonzaga, which Santa Clara hasn't played well at all. That's all the top 10 games and the ranked games for today.
Did we talk about Kentucky, Alabama playing right
Yeah,
now?
they're
It's in a
a
slobber.
2-point game at halftime.
Go Alabama.
Yep.
Beat Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. I'm not overlooking them. I'm not throwing them to the wayside by any means. But man, they're struggling this year by their standards, especially.
They've come back the last couple games. They beat North Carolina, which I hate. I hate talking good about Kentucky, but I will
Right.
give them their props. They've, if they didn't beat North Carolina, I'd be talking about them being the NIT team.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at it too. It seems like Kentucky's very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde almost, where they play really good and overachieve one game. The next game, you're like, this
Who
team beat
is
North
this team?
Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's like, and when you go into a single elimination type tournament, it doesn't usually go in your favor when you struggle, when you're not
Right.
consistent.
They're gonna find out. But January 19th through the 26th, they got 3 ranked teams. They have Auburn, they have Mississippi State, but then they got Kansas, and they have Georgia before that.
Yeah, that'll be the Big 12 SEC. They have some like late season tournament
If they
or
come,
challenge. It's not even a
Challenge,
tournament. It's
challenge,
just a challenge.
if they come through that with just one loss or they win them all, that's
yeah.
gonna put them in the top 5. I'd
Oh, yeah, they'll
imagine.
probably get a 2 or 3 seed at least, at minimum. All right, so let's take a look about Sunday's games. You have 21 Indiana going at number 2 Michigan.
It'll be a good one.
I think it should be a decent game. And number 24 Nebraska at number 25 Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those mid-major. It may set up to see who's gonna maybe push forward and get maybe a 4 seed or something. Or 5
And if
seed.
it wasn't for NFL playoffs tomorrow, I'd be pumped
Yeah.
about that. That'd be awesome. Good way to spend my Sunday afternoon. But at
And then
this
Monday,
point,
there's
it
no
don't
real
do
big
a lot.
games Monday. I mean, a lot of mid majors play Monday. Tuesday, you have number 23 Oklahoma at number 11 Texas Tech.
Be a good one.
Number 15 North Carolina at number 18 NC State. In-state rivals.
And they go to NC State.
They're at
you
NC
said?
State,
Yeah.
yes.
Could be a good one.
Number 1 Duke goes to Wake. And then Tennessee at Missouri. And then
Should be fine.
No real challenge.
no, but Purdue at Michigan State. Then on Wednesday, you have Virginia Tech going to Georgia Tech.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Virginia Tech at Georgia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia Tech's kind of fallen off a little bit this year.
Yep.
Last couple of years, really. But, still early in conference play. You never know. Virginia does go to Boston College, which may be a decent game because Boston College can play some ball every now and then. All right, and also you have TCU going to number 5 Kansas, which I think may be a better game than some people expect. I think TCU's a decent team. They're 11-2 this year so far. So
We're 11-1.
11-1, excuse me,
Yeah, should be a good game. We'll find out what
You said
TCU's
that's
got.
Tuesday?
on Wednesday.
Wednesday, see, those midweek, could get a little bit of a lull out of Kansas. You never know. Could be a good game.
Yep, and Miami goes to number 9 FSU midweek, a rivalry game. I don't see Miami putting up much of a challenge this year, being they really struggled and don't have a lot of. I mean, they have 7 scholarship players playing right now, so it's gonna be a long year for Miami. I have a feeling. And then San Jose State does travel to Nevada. Then on Thursday you have number 2 Michigan at Illinois, which I don't expect to be too big of a trouble for Michigan.
Sometimes Illinois is a pretty good program, but I don't think this is one of those sometimes.
There's a lot of talent that comes out of Chicago, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have a great team this year. And then Pacific goes to number 7 Gonzaga.
Blowout.
I would bet that as well. But that kind of wraps up the whole schedule for next week. Not counting Saturday's game, we'll kind of cover those, I'm sure, on our Saturday podcast next week.
Well, you skipped over the Nevada game, which is understandable, but Fee had a good point earlier in one of our podcasts talking about how Nevada plays nobody, but all they're going to do is keep winning.
Yeah.
And I really do think Nevada's a pretty good team. It's hard to, the sample we have to look at, it's hard to tell how good they actually are because of their opponents. But I'm telling you, come big dance time, I don't think Nevada is going to be somebody you're going to be real excited about going up against.
So
No,
they beat Arizona State, so they did play somebody.
Right.
Yeah, and they do knock off. When they get the tournament, they usually knock off 1 or 2, and they go a couple rounds deep, which is nothing to sneeze at. I mean,
No,
And, as long as they keep beating these nobodies by 20-plus points,
they may
that's
end up with
saying
a 3 or 4 seed.
it's
and make it
it's getting a little closer. Not quite blowing everybody out now. So, but yeah, there ain't no joke. There ain't no
Yeah,
Buffalo, but there.
it's going to be interesting to
nobody's
see.
Buffalo, so that's
I'm ready to see, how good they actually are. And I don't know. It gets exciting.
Yeah, but see, I don't think we actually get to see how good they are until
Yeah.
Right.
March.
Yeah.
So
I don't want Tennessee to see him in the tournament. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So I think you got 2 months to see how good Nevada really is.
Well, and as long as they keep winning, they're going to be
Yeah.
a pretty good seed,
I'll
maybe
probably say
a
3 or 4
3
seed,
or
yeah.
a 4. So,
Yeah. I think they
Tennessee
would deserve
won't
that.
have to mess with them for the first couple of weekends anyway.
They don't have anybody else ranked, so they're liable to run the table. It's not likely, but if they go in 1 loss, they might be a number 1 seed. You never know.
Yeah, depending on what your Tennessees
Yeah.
do, or Virginia, if they catch a loss here and there that might knock them out of a 1, they very well could sneak into a 1. But more than likely, I'm going with a 3 probably.
Yeah, I think a 3 is probably where they deserve to be at. until they play a conference schedule. I mean, if they're in the Pac-12, I might consider it just because at least they're playing in a conference,
Right.
But I mean, they're not, so it's kind of there. You go. We'll leave it at that.
I didn't mean to give them that much attention,
Yeah,
but I
but, you know what I'm
did feel
saying.
like it was something worth mentioning them.
Right? No, absolutely. They and they have been winning. So I mean, you can't. It's like Notre Dame in football this year. That they play the teams on their schedule and they beat them.
But basketball's a lot different than
Oh, yeah.
football. You're more than likely to play cupcakes and still be a decent squad and still be able to have some success. In football, you play these cupcakes, and then when you go up against a real name, we saw what happened to them. So I don't know, and they may get put out first weekend. Who knows? But I think they were worth mentioning anyway.
Yeah, in the words of Dennis Green, they are who we
Yeah.
thought they were.
Exactly.
All right, so that kind of wraps up our coverage from NCAA men's basketball. I figured we touch a little NBA action, being that we're not quite midseason yet. We are getting kind of close to the All-Star game, which marks usually about midseason or so. But we'll kind of start off with the Rockets starting to surge. I know Jairus called it, and me and Philip, which are fans, kind of gave up on them early in the year, but now the number 4 seed, Harden's been playing ungodly right now.
Lights out.
He's had over 40 points the last 5 games, 2 triple-doubles in the last 2. Just beat a Warriors team without Chris Paul and Eric Gordon in overtime at Golden State.
Right.
Down by at least 17, I know of, in that game.
And there was at the end of the game, I watched the end of the game, and there was a horrible call where Kevin Durant saved a ball that went out of bounds, but he had both his feet outside like 3 steps, took 3 steps outside the out-of-bound marker and hit the ball back in, and they called it for Golden State, and they got a score to go back up in overtime, and James Harden hit a dagger deep 3 to win that game, kind of fitting for him. I'll call it. Is James Harden the best scorer in the league right now? If you need for pure scores, pure points.
Hell, he's averaging 33 points on the year. He's 5 points above anybody else.
He leads the conversation. I don't know if I'd absolutely, crown him as the best scorer, but he does lead off the conversation, and he may very well be. I won't necessarily give him the title yet, but there ain't nothing wrong with him. He's really good.
He can score. I mean, he talk about his defense all you want, but the man can put up points.
And even if he's having a bad night, he knows how to get to the free throw line. So, if he's having an all-shooting night, which happens quite a bit.
I think a couple of these games he had like 20-something free throws and stuff. So
yeah, he's got an art of getting fouled, I can tell you that.
He's really good, no doubt about it. And then being at 4, I right there's where I had him envisioned, because they're hot as fire right now. Earlier in the season, they were not playing like they should, so I think that's kind of going to be the story of their season. They're going to hit another slump, and injuries, unfortunately, have played a big role in their game. So they're going to slide some, and then they're going to get hot again. So I think right at a 4 spot is about where I would expect them to be when the season does wrap up.
It's going to be very interesting when they get Chris Paul back. Harden's numbers are going to dip then, but
it'll help.
Yeah,
I think it'll help him in the postseason because
he's going to have to get some rest. I know he's playing ungodly minutes right now. He's going to die.
Yeah, and trying to put up 40 points every game for
the
rest of the season is a big
won't happen.
It's a big order to ask for.
And if it does happen, the playoffs will be here, and he'll be so beat down.
He won't be able to run the court at all. So
I believe this is exactly who they are, and this is exactly where they'll end their season.
I think I live with that. Maybe they sneak by and get into the Western Conference Finals and at least be in the picture. I think that would
very well could.
I think that would be a successful year for Houston, which really struggled. It seemed like they were destined for a lottery pick this year, beginning of the year. Speaking a little bit about Golden State, they slipped down to the number 3 spot in the West, even with everybody back. Is something going on in Golden State, or is it just?
They still don't have Boogie back. I think there's some tension there. It doesn't. It
Seems
that,
a little off.
and also their bench is awful. They just let that thing go. It's gotten to where it's almost like the Cleveland bench of the Cavaliers when they had who the heck do they have? Tristan Thompson coming up, or is he starting?
He was starting for a while.
Yeah,
Was
so-
he starting?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it was. Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem. Their bench is just depleted. $5 million for some pretty good role players ain't too bad. They had paid Boogie. He's been sitting on the sidelines injured all year.
Yeah, but I mean, they had the same teams they had last year, which ran through pretty much everybody in the year before. I think there's a lot of drama going on that team. I think they get it together for playoffs. I still think they're the favorite. But could some drama derail that team? Well, I wouldn't be totally shocked. I mean, just from what I'm hearing, from the reports coming out of.
I think it already has. You had that dust up with Draymond and Durant, and they ain't really been the same since then. They had a little spurt, but now they've lost 3 of their last 5, and like 4 of their last 7 or 8. That's not a Golden State thing. They usually win 8 of their 9, and this is they got something to figure out. Steve Kerr better figure it out quick, because they're liable to be a 4 seed themselves. If they don't get it figured out.
Yeah. A scary 4 seed.
And I don't see Boogie's attitude fixing the problem either, because he's not known for his
team play.
Yeah.
I still think we're not even at the halfway point yet. I do not believe this is truly who Golden State is. I still wholeheartedly believe they're the best team in the West, best team in the league. I think at some point they're finally going to look around and be like, hey, let's bury the hatchet, and let's play like we know we can play. And them cutting the nets down at the end of the year is where my money is at, and where my expectations are at as well.
Yeah, I think if they don't win the championship, I think it's probably going to be one of the biggest upsets in NBA, at least the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
We're still early enough in the season. I think.
Once they got Boogie for the in MLE, it was like $5 million to vet him, whatever the hell they paid him. I thought it was everybody just played for second place.
It's I don't know.
There's definitely some drama going on in Golden State. We just don't know about it, but there's something going on.
I'm sure there is, but you got much talent. I think it's still.
Yeah, it's easy to overreact, and they're not playing like they should. So I mean, but I don't see this as their identity. So I'd still look out.
I think talent-wise, this team could probably break the record for wins, but they're just too much infighting. But it's still going to be enough when it comes down to playoff time.
When it
They're
starts
going to
counting.
They're going to put enough aside and say, "Look, let's just play our game, win these out, get out of here, get our ring."
If you
and
still
go home."
hate me after the championship, we'll work on it then.
Right, exactly. I think that's what is going to happen. But yeah, I think definitely there's some issues going on. I think that team's days are numbered as far as their build the way it is now.
Yeah, you can't pay everybody.
Yeah,
Can't rain all the time.
all right. So
The Crow, 1992.
with that said, OKC jumped up to number 2 spot in the West. But who's the better player on that team right now, Westbrook or George?
Hey, Westbrook when he's on, but when he's not on, he still plays the same way as when he's not. He's going to shoot the ball, but Paul George is the more solid player, and he plays both ways. I like Westbrook's like a Curry, man. When he's sitting there shooting the ball and hitting threes from half court, you just can't stop him. But and Westbrook's the same way when he's driving and passing and doing his will.
But I think Curry's more consistent than Westbrook is too.
Yes, I would agree with that. But
I would compare Westbrook and Harden before I would Westbrook and Curry.
I'm talking about hotness.
Yeah, that's the reason George is on this team, because
Brings some stability and
right,
consistency.
and there again, I think OKC's right where I would have expected them to be, but at the end of the season, they're going to be at the house. At the end of the playoff season,
I
that is,
understand.
not regular season, but.
Yeah, if I was building a team, I think I would take George over Westbrook just because you get more of a consistent player that can play defense in a spot that's right now small forward dominant, where you need somebody that can play defense. I think you can get a decent point guard later.
The thing is with George, he is consistent and he is a two-way player, a heck of a scorer whenever he needs to be. But he has been known to disappear too. You know, on some of those Pacers teams, he just turned into, poof, gone like a fart in the wind. So, but OKC's going to be just fine too. I just don't think they have enough. When their A game meets even the Rockets' A game, I still think they just ain't got enough.
Right. Well, I can agree with that. I think if the A game of the Rockets faces the A game of the OKC, I think the Rockets still take that.
Well, outside of George and Westbrook, the talent kind of pretty much
falls off pretty hard.
Where is everybody?
They were hoping Schroeder would do more. He's a very fine, role playing point guard, probably above average, but he's not an all-star like they thought he might have been, like up and coming. So, but outside of that, you center Steven Adams. So I mean, he's not scaring nobody.
Right.
So yeah, if you shut them two down, you got it licked up.
Absolutely. All right, so carrying on, the Nuggets continue to roll with Jamal Murray. Some shock still.
Now that's
Yeah,
a surprise.
I have no idea.
I mean, Jamal Murray is good. Is he great? No.
Is he an all-star?
No.
No.
I mean, that's pretty much all they have. I mean, their power forward they have there is decent. I forgot the guy's name, but
Millsap.
yeah, but he's
Hey,
not.
he used to be an all-star.
But he's not.
No, he ain't the player he was. What did he play in Atlanta? I think it was.
That's a different Millsap.
Okay. Well, never mind. I don't know about this Millsap then.
Is it your guy? But he's decent. I think he's like an 18-point guy. But I mean, nothing.
Didn't he sing country music, Ronnie Millsap?
But yeah, I mean, but still, I mean, the team is smoke and mirrors, but they're winning. So I mean,
Well, I'm not throwing off on y'all or anything, but early in the season, y'all were down on the Rockets because what they were showing so far. They showed reason to be down on them, but I didn't think that was their true identity. Golden State's sliding right now. Y'all are kind of down on Golden State. I don't think that's their true identity. The Nuggets have consistently done this the entire season. Now, there's still more than half a season to go, and they could fall totally off the face of the earth and wouldn't surprise me at all. But all year long, they've been doing this. So, good for Denver. I don't like them. I don't hate them. But surprised is an understatement.
Shocked. Yeah, I mean, you look at their squad
it's
roster,
crazy.
you still don't see how they're in first place. And you're
So
like,
good
what?
for them, But like I say, if they fell off tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised. But they've been pretty daggum consistent this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to argue against that. Don't look now also, but the Spurs, along with the Rockets, have kind of been pushed up right behind them.
Yep.
Back in the playoff picture, I think they're at number 6 right now. Are they a dangerous team?
Any Popovich coach team's a dangerous team.
He's a heck of a basketball coach. He knows what he's doing.
I think he's been there a time or two.
Just a little bit.
But this squad is not the squads he's had to work with in the past. But them hanging around and obviously, like we talked about, the Clippers very well may disappear. Nuggets very well may disappear. So the Spurs may have them a spot in them old playoffs when it's said and done.
Well, if they're facing like a 4 or 5 Rockets, I mean that could be a fun matchup, I think, to watch, and especially that they don't like each other very much at all.
Right.
I
So-
hope not. I don't want to get beat by Popovich again.
No, but yeah, I mean,
Hey, they pretty much replaced Kawhi with DeRozan. DeRozan's a fine player. He's an all-star, but he's not a two-way player. He's got the scoring of Kawhi, but he does not have the defense. So
Right.
they take a step back. They're no longer a number 3 seed or 2 seed. They're now a 6. But that's probably about where they're going to
but
end
I think
up.
they could be I think they'd be a scary 5 or 6 team for
Yep.
somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And Pop's experience speaks very large and loud. So them holding on and making the playoffs and maybe even winning a series wouldn't be unheard of.
Let's talk a little bit about LeBron and his injuries. How that's doing in the Lakers.
The Lakers go as LeBron goes. they're going to be in the playoffs, but they're not a real threat to anybody, I don't think.
Yeah, they're definitely a piece or two off, I think,
Yep.
before they can make any noise.
Yeah, I
I mean,
think
right now it's going to
every time we have the conversation, it leads to wait till next year or what will
Right.
happen next year, I guess. So,
who can they get?
right. But, they without a doubt, whatever LeBron's doing is what the Lakers are doing, because without him, we know what they are. We saw what they are. So,
Yeah.
playoffs, yes. Real threat, no.
No, he can't
Yeah.
do it by himself.
Well, it may be good to get some of those younger guys in there to see who you have and who maybe you want to keep. So it may
Hang on when
Right.
the shakeup
Good.
really comes down.
LeBron needs to take a break anyway. He's probably played a couple seasons in the playoffs.
right.
He needs him a break.
So yeah, I don't think it hurts the Lakers that bad. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. Are they going to make any noise? I think LeBron always picks up his game. Does he have enough around him to help him?
Not this year.
If they win a series,
Win a series or two, maybe.
it doesn't.
Yeah, if they
doesn't shock me, but-
played the Thunder, I could see them beating the Thunder. They were like a.
But
7
going
seed.
out first round wouldn't surprise me either.
Right. Yeah, I think it's one of those deals where you wouldn't be shocked either way. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Go over to the East. The Bucks take the top spot in the East. Do you think they can challenge for the title this year?
I think they got enough assets where they can trade for. If they trade for somebody, that's a very dangerous Bucks team. They passed Toronto. Kyle Lowry's been out for I don't know a week or two. That's,
Right.
the biggest part of why they passed him. But if you get Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, some help, that's a very dangerous Bucks team. And they may just settle out because I don't see him staying once his contract's up. I don't see anybody staying in Milwaukee, to be honest with you. But if they get him son down there and they can make a run at the title, he might stay. That's the only way I can see it. So you might as well go get somebody now.
The way I look at it is regular season. They can maybe the rest of this regular season they can do this, but I think when playoffs hit, they're going to look around and be like, "Holy crap, we've never done this before."
Right.
And so them getting bounced early wouldn't surprise me. But they're very talented, very young. Something actually coming out of it, I don't see it happening. And Fee's right, they could make some moves and get some folks in there. But there again, I don't see them being any real threat to anything.
But you look at up and down the East, though. I mean, pretty much every team out there is loaded with young, talented players. I mean, the East has been so bad for so long, and they got all these top 3 picks,
Well,
and
at
now
least-
they're all coming to fruition.
At
And
least last year, Philly got a taste of it.
yeah,
So
that's true.
They're not going to be total deer in the headlights. Go Michigan State, by the way. So Philly's not going to be total virgin to the situation they're going to face when the playoffs roll around. I still think Toronto, top to bottom, is without a doubt a favorite. Boston has some vet-ish type players, so they're going to make some noise. But good on the Bucks if they can keep this up. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, I think Boston is a very underappreciated team in the East right now. I think they're a lot better. I think they still have some health issues going out there. If they can get healthy for the playoffs, I think they can make a deep run and possibly challenge for that conference crown along with the I still think, like you said, though, the Torontos are probably the favorite in my opinion, just with Kawhi and Kyle Lowry and some of the other pieces they have around there. They're a good squad that can play both sides of the ball. They can score and play defense. So I think they're going to be a tough.
I think if Boston
out.
wants to do anything, it's got to do with Gordon Hayward because he has not played the way they thought he was going to play. That's the biggest issue down
Well,
there.
he's still
in
coming.
Boston.
He's still coming off of that huge injury he had last
Yeah,
year.
it was nasty too.
And I think it's going to take him a year to get. I mean, he's
He got new
healthy
legs.
enough to play, but to get his game strength back, to get comfortable with being able to cut and to move again after an injury
Yeah, because
like
he's
that.
got to be a little gun shy.
That's not easy to come back from, and he may not be ever be the same player, but he was never a high athletic guy anyway. He was known more as a shooter type player. So I think he's going to be okay. It's just going to take some time for him to really get over that. 'Cause I think there is some gun shyness. There may be some strength issues because I mean, injury like that, you're off your legs for months and months at a time. You can't do anything. So
And it hurts your stamina too. You know,
exactly.
like you said, he's not where he can even get on a treadmill and stay in any kind of real shape. You know, he's sitting there like we are with his feet kicked up
Yeah.
and nothing really he can do.
But yeah, so I think they're going to be okay. I think they're a good squad, talent wise. You look at that roster, you know, and you know the Raptors and also the 76ers. You know, I know there's still some more drama going on with the Butler. Again, I saw some other stuff
He
about it.
makes
But
no
He getting
sense.
into it with one of the coaches.
yeah, with the coaches now, so it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's so much talent there, and are they kind of dreading that trade now?
Surely not.
I don't know yet. I mean, it's still early, but you know, Butler's a great player. There may be some maybe more attitude problem than we thought.
Yeah, I
coming
didn't really hear anything about him having an attitude until the Minnesota thing. But
and maybe he just
And
got
he-
and I
turned
thought
the
he was
wrong
just
way.
unhappy.
Right, and he's not one of the guys like on court. Like you can look at Westbrook and go, "That guy's a prick," you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't act that way on the court, really.
kind of a
yeah,
quiet guy on the court, really.
it's that's definitely a head scratcher, but I still think they're going to be just fine as well. But locker room issues and not having good chemistry can mess you up on
Yeah.
court. So.
I mean, it has Golden State, where I think they should probably be challenging for the top record ever to probably struggle during the season. So,
Right.
but I mean, again, can they? Where Golden State's a veteran team, and 76ers are still a very young team, are they able to put that aside during the playoffs when it counts
And Golden State
to make a run?
has seen the proof in the pudding. They
Oh,
know what they're capable of. Philly, on the other hand, they're like, now we're dealing with this butthole and we're not going to win. So
Right.
it could cause them some turmoil, but I still think they've got plenty of talent there, and they just need to figure it out.
And one thing is not he's not one of the top teams, but how about Derrick Rose kind of resurrecting his career a little bit? He's been playing super good. I mean, not MVP good like he was, but compared to the last couple of seasons, I think he's like an 18 and like 8 assist guy every game, which is
If there's ever been a what could have been,
oh yeah,
because the guy obviously couldn't stay on the court, but he's also obviously a awesome talent. Honestly, could have been one of the best evers. Possibly, you can't say one way or another on it because all we got to go is on 100 injuries,
right.
season-ending injuries that he's gone through. But good on him. He's really good, but he's not on a really good team. So,
All right, and before we get past the East, and got to talk about the elephant in the room, where we talked about the Nuggets being up there. The Pacers are still winning. They won 6 straight. I mean,
who were their opponents in these 6 straight?
I have no idea.
Oh,
but
I thought you had it pulled up. I'm sorry.
but
I didn't mean to
look,
put you on the spot.
I can look it up though. Let's see here.
Let's see, Brooklyn,
Ooh,
Washington,
ooh,
Atlanta,
ooh,
Detroit,
ooh,
and Chicago.
ooh.
Well, yeah, true, but
But it is,
they're still winning.
right. You're right.
They're still the number 2 seed right
Grand scheme of things, do you really think that'll
now.
make any real difference? You think they'll make the playoffs
I think they'll make playoffs.
just because the
They're-
East
I mean,
is so
they're
weak?
and they're so up there right now. I mean they're number 2 right now in the East. I mean they would take a monumental falling off. I mean, who else? After you get past the top 5, I mean you have Miami, Charlotte,
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Then at 9 you got Detroit.
There you go. And Orlando's back there somewhere. I mean,
Yeah,
I
maybe.
mean, the East has good teams, but it's like 5, and then after that, it's like a different conference.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like they
They,
got losing.
may.
Brooklyn and Charlotte both have losing records, and they're 7th and 8th.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. So I mean, can they make the playoffs? Yes. I mean, are they the number 2 seed? I mean,
I doubt that. We've been talking about them falling off forever, but they're still hanging in there. So
are they better than the Raptors and the Celtics and the 76ers?
Go Oladipo. I don't know.
Milwaukee,
yeah.
But maybe they will hang in there. I don't know. They're just an afterthought to me that don't pay much attention to them.
I know Larry Bird's in the office. Did he sneak on the court or something?
Magic potions.
Yeah. But I think that pretty much wraps up everything in the NBA. Do you guys have any other announcements you guys want to make before we close out our show here?
I do want to give Fee a good old pat on the back for the efforts putting in on the social media work, and of course his work is the producing and stuff. Because me and Steve get to sit down here and blabber mouths, and we do our homework off air too. But Fee does put in a lot of work off air, so props to you, my friend.
Thank you.
No, absolutely, we do. We appreciate it. He does a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and when we're talking smack back and forth about it, but about other things. But no, we definitely appreciate all his help, and we appreciate Bronson last week for stopping in and helping us out on our podcast last week. So I know he listened. So appreciate you, buddy.
When we took that one break and came in here, he's like, "Man, y'all gonna have to tell me to shut up." I said, "No, we understand, man. When you get on here and ideas keep coming in your head and you just keep on talking." I understand completely. Sometimes you get a little run on going. So
no, that was a good. I think it was a good program. I think he brought a different perspective that a lot of us don't think about. He's obviously an offensive lineman, so it does bring some perspectives that a lot of people don't look at, because everybody looks at the flash, at the receivers and the running backs and the quarterbacks, and don't really think about the trenches as much. So I think it came to some good conversation there about.
And he won't be our only one. I think we'll have a little Trevor Diggity might hop on with us in the pretty near future.
It's been so good to talk about the Notre Dame game with him.
I will just rehash it when we get him on here. But we'll get him on, and hopefully we can get some other folks on here. And
I'm working on another Georgia player that was a defensive back.
Okay. Champ Bailey?
No, not him. But,
Chrissy's going to sweep him off this floor 850 times.
Another friend that we may get to call in or something.
That'll be awesome.
That'd be cool.
And we're going to get a little hockey talk going. We got a buddy
Hopefully.
who I think get him on here and let Steve and Cantrell do a little hockey talk. Little something different than what myself and Fee are probably comfortable with, but we'll give it a run.
Yeah, definitely. It's hockey's getting about midpoint in the season. It's about the same. It kind of mirrors the NBA season a little bit. So
yeah, they're really close.
And there's been a lot of going on in the hockey this year, especially with the changing of the goalie pads. So there's a lot more scoring this year. So
me and Trev, we used to play in a tournament, a golf tournament in Cookeville every year, and you said NHL and NBA run hand in hand. So Friday night they always have like an after party or whatever, and so you'd be there, and there's about half the room, half and half. Hey, put the TV on the NBA playoffs. No, put it on the NHL playoffs. So they do run hand in hand.
Absolutely no. So yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be fun to do a little bit of switch gear. I know hockey's been a lot more enjoyed in the U.S. than it has been in the past. It's getting a lot more popularity.
It's gained momentum for sure.
So yeah, I think it'll be fun, and talk about a little bit about it. Maybe change gears and try to branch out a little bit more than just what we do here. So we're definitely always looking to do more. And if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, we'll definitely answer.
With Fee getting us up and running on social media, guys, text or not text, but message us or whatever. Throw some questions, comments, or whatever out there, and we'll get y'all involved too.
Yeah, we'll definitely answer it. Well, if you want to be, if you don't want to be known your question, you can always give it to us and tell us not to tell you your name.
Yep.
But if not, we'll tell you who's asking it, and we can kind of we'll answer it for you, no matter. I don't say no matter. Well, we'll answer the question regardless, and if it's
And if you want to rebuttal,
Yeah,
hit us back. That's fun too.
definitely. But we definitely appreciate all you guys listening. We appreciate you guys, and we definitely check out our social media. Follow us, watch us everywhere you can. Share us with your friends. If you don't like us, tell your friends listen to these idiots talk, and we'll definitely do that as well. But that's pretty much all we have.
Monday
here.
we got Hey Stupid.
Monday is NFL football. We'll talk the playoffs. We'll talk a recap from the wild card round. Do our new pick'ems. We're doing a new season of our pick'ems since Fee spanked our backsides pretty handily during the regular season. We decided to make it fair. We try to do some
Make a little
playoff only action and see what happens.
One of those change the rules so you can win.
Yeah, that's right.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
But we got Hey Stupid and Attaboys.
We'll do Hey Stupid Attaboys on
some story time.
and I'll try to find a stories time. Yep, for Monday. We'll also maybe hit a little bit of the announcements for the finalists for the Pro Bowl in the NFL has been announced. We can kind of hit some of that, and
Michigan State won. Tennessee's going to win here in a few minutes.
Michigan State did win. Looks like Georgetown's close to St. John's right now. Did a pretty good game. But, so we'll definitely hit all the NFL stuff up. Some off-season news. More drama with the Steelers again.
Good grief.
We'll hit that again. We'll beat that horse.
Grief.
Because
they just keep on doing something else.
days of our Steelers, I guess.
Crazy.
Yeah, we'll definitely hit that up again and kind of go from there. We definitely appreciate you guys listening, taking your time out of your day. If you have any comments, concerns, like you said, or if you even if you want to hear something a little bit different, let us know. We may not know about it right now, but we'll definitely do some research for you and go from there. And we appreciate you guys. And Fee, hit the music.